Am I the astronaut for wanting to expose my sister to her husband after she confessed to my husband on her wedding day? Sorry for the confusing title. I didn't know how to word it any other way. I, 24 female, have been married to my husband, 27 male, for about 2 years. My sister, 26 female, and her husband, 26 male, are high school sweethearts. My sister and I have always been close. Despite the small age gap, she acted like my second mother. So I never doubted her in anything. Let's call her Jane. My husband, let's call him Bob, and I met at uni. I was 20 and he was 23. He excelled in academics, sports, and looks, and was well known around campus because of that. So obviously I had a crush on him. Jane also attended the same uni. Because I was new, she included me in her big circle of friends, and he was a part of that. I never made a move because I respected Jane and her friends. I didn't want to cause any trouble or make things awkward. She meant the world to me. Eventually, though, Bob and I became close friends. I grew to like him more. I also noticed that Jane rarely interacted with him, which was odd considering she was close to almost everyone in her circle, but I never said anything. I did end up telling her that I liked him, though. She told me not to get my hopes up because he wasn't interested in any relationship. I was crushed, but tried to see him as a friend. He ended up confessing to me on my 21st birthday, and we began dating, which obviously resulted in marriage, and here we are now. During the entire time we were dating, Jane started to distance herself from me. We did have a talk about it when Bob and I first started dating, and I told her I'd break up with him if she wasn't comfortable with it, considering he's her friend, but she rejected the idea. She hugged me and said she was happy for me, so I took her words for it. She still distanced herself, though. Her husband, boyfriend at the time, we'll call him Jim. He didn't attend uni, but his dad had a small construction business that he works for. Jim's a good man. He did everything for Jane, but due to our culture, women can't leave the family house until marriage, so Jane and I still lived with our parents then. So when Jim had saved up enough money to buy a house, he proposed to Jane, and she said yes. Fast forward a year, and Bob proposed. I said yes. Up until now, all Jane had done was distance herself from me, but when I sat my family down and told them the news, she cried. I thought she was crying from happiness until my mom told me I should have taken my sister's feelings into consideration before telling them. It was odd. It seemed like no one was happy. My mom took Jane to her room, but my dad stayed. He told me that Jane was having a hard time with Jim. I believed them. Since then, Jane distanced herself more from me. When I tried speaking to her, she'd reply curtly. And when I brought it up with my mom, she said that she's going through a hard time, so I shouldn't make it worse, so I left it alone. That was until Bob confessed that Jane had been texting him consistently for the past few weeks. He showed me the text. She'd ask if she could call or meet him. She'd also attempt to text him late at night. The last one was when she sent him photos of her in revealing dresses and asked him to choose the prettiest. That's when he decided to tell me about it. Before anyone says anything, no, Bob didn't lead her on. His texts were dry, and frankly, if I wasn't so upset with my sister, I'd say rude. He felt uncomfortable, but decided to put up with it because she was my sister. He also admitted that Jane had confessed to him years ago, but he had rejected her. Oof. It felt like everything was falling into place when he told me that. I was so hurt by her. I immediately confronted her when I got home. I thought she'd at least be ashamed, but she said that I stole him from her. What's worse is that my mom sided with her. Okay. Good job, Mom. I've always had a feeling she was my mom's favorite, but she was my favorite too. It made sense that everyone loved Jane. I loved her too, but she betrayed me in the worst way possible. She even said she hated me and didn't want to see me again. No one sided with me, so I packed my things and left. My dad told me that I shouldn't leave because it's not appropriate for an unmarried girl to leave her parents' house. My mom even called me a hoer for leaving to go to Bob's place. That hurt a lot. It took a long time for me to get over what they did. When I think about it, it still stings. Bob and I lived together before marriage. I also cut contact with my family, and Bob and I got married without inviting anyone from my side, aside from a few close relatives. It was a lovely wedding, by the way. But a week ago, my cousin told me Jane had her wedding. I guess she went ahead with it. Today, though, Bob showed me a message he got on Instagram from her. He hadn't seen it because it was in the request section, but it dated back to a week ago. She confessed to him again and told him she'd make him happier than me if he gave her a chance to. I am upset, really upset. He screenshotted it and blocked her and asked if it was okay to send it to Jim, but I said no. I don't know why. Jim deserves better, but I just don't want to deal with her anymore. I can't take it. Please tell me what to do. What advice would you give? I want to move on, but I also feel so guilty for keeping this away from Jim. However, I don't want this to blow up in my face, especially when Bob and I have been living so peacefully now. Edit, Thank you all for the solid advice, both on this post and my other post. I think deep down I was still attached to the family who raised me, especially my sister. Your comments have given me a reality check. For those asking what I meant by this blowing up in my face, I know my sister. I'm afraid she'll come to my house with my mom and escalate things to the point that police are needed. But I also understand that she'll keep harassing my husband and ruining Jim's life further if we keep quiet. I took your advice and told Bob that he could contact Jim if he wanted. He said he'll think about it, so I'm leaving it at that for now. Personally, knowing his personality, he probably already sent it to Jim even after I said no, but I'll wait to see what happens. Thanks again. If anything happens, I'll update. In this position, your sister is a hot mess. Sister is an absolute mess. For her to say, "Hug, I'm happy for you," and then say, "How could you do this to me? I never want to see you again," and pull mom into it to the point that she calls you a whore. This isn't just about her. This is parents being enablers and choosing her and just letting her run amok. Letting her run amok and completely ruin their relationship with you to the point that they didn't even get invited to the wedding. And here she is getting ready to marry this guy who obviously is second place to her, if even that, and is still contacting your husband saying that she could make him happier. And going all the way back to uni, she said that don't get your hopes up because he's not interested in a relationship. Obviously, she had a way of knowing that because she had already tried. So she blessed it then. She blessed it when she said that she was happy for you in this relationship and gave you a hug. And it wasn't until you announced that you were getting married that she had the breakdown and your family became divided. And by divided, I mean they all backed her. Her completely unsubstantiated claim that you stole him from her. We shall name her Galactus, Devourer of Worlds. She's going to leave a wake of destruction in her path that is going to make everyone around her that is still connected to her in any way, shape, or form miserable forever. Stay no contact with this biznatch, with this bizzo, who, by the way, is also Delulu, thinking that she can just message your now husband and he's gonna what? Just be like, "Oh, okay, she sent me an Instagram message and said that she'd treat me better than you, so I guess I'm going over to her house now. I guess I'm gonna marry her. You and I need to get a divorce. She said she'd treat me better." Bitches Delulu. It's the saddest part of this is that the parents took her side. Mom, especially, right? Dad, it sounds like he's going to flow whichever direction that mom chooses. But her calling you what she called you and just choosing her without even having a discussion with you to be like, okay, what's actually going on here? Because then you could have explained that she blessed this multiple times. It doesn't matter. She is... she's going to have a miserable life. So, yes, Jim he deserves to know. He absolutely deserves to know. Any of us put ourselves in his shoes and we would want to know. But their wedding's already happened. Maybe it's soon enough for them to get an annulment and for him to save at least part of the pain that he's going to inevitably go through. But no, you are not the asshole here at all. Jim deserves to know. I understand that you think by being any part of him finding out, it's going to blow up in your face, and you're probably right. You're going to be the devil that has ruined her life. No matter what you do, everything you do is about ruining her life because everything revolves around her, right? So yeah, just prepare for that. I think the more no contact you go with everyone, and I would include blocking your mom, your dad, everybody who has taken her side, I would just block them. No contact, 100%. GTFO, fam. Bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Here we go. Here's the update. Hi, just wanted to make a small update. As I thought, Bob had already sent the message to Jim even when I told him not to. He also screen recorded the message to prove that it came from her account, which I didn't know he did. At least one of us is smart. Anyway, I won't go into too much detail, but Jim didn't reply until last night. He called Bob and they had a long chat. Apparently, when Jim confronted Jane, she tried to blame Bob for coming on to her. They had a fight and she left to stay with her parents. Shocking. I know a lot of you told me to send the screenshot to my parents. I did. I sent it to my dad, not my mom. Good call. I'm sorry, but I still can't find the strength to talk to her, and I don't think I ever will. My dad said he and mom will deal with it and to not tell anybody what Jane did. Are you f***ing kidding me? I feel worse now for even thinking he'd side with me, LOL. For anyone wondering whether Bob sent Jim the old messages from Jane from years ago, he didn't. He bought a new phone right after we cut contact, so he doesn't have those anymore. I don't know if Jim will divorce or annul Jane, but he told Bob not to contact him anymore, so I think we did our parts already. Thankfully, she hasn't come to my house, but I did take your advice about installing cameras. We'll be doing that next week. Thank you all for the help. You guys were right. Bob is my new family, so I'm not going to think about Jane or my parents anymore. We're having dinner at his parents tonight, so I'm rushing writing this LOL. Thank you again. I hope you all have a great day. What kind of piece of shit parents do you have here, OP? They're screaming enablers. Screaming enablers. Yeah, that's real bad. Just don't tell anybody about it. We don't want anybody to know what a piece of shit she is, because she's still got a lot of other lives to ruin out there, okay? And Jim, I don't know what Jim's play here is, asking you guys to not contact him anymore. I'm like, does that mean they're gonna try to work on this? Does that mean he's gonna stay? Surely he had some idea of who she was already, but you know, there's a big difference between somebody being a dramatic pain in the ass and somebody being a cheating dramatic pain in the ass. There's a big difference. Hopefully, Jim does not stay with her. And your parents, OP, I'm so sorry that you have to deal with this. Never talked to those odds again. Ever. Ever. All they do is bring you harm. This is one of those 0 is greater than -1 situations where even by talking to your dad, all it did was bring more negativity to your life. You felt completely unsupported. And all he did was cover for your Delulu sister. They've made their choice. So yes, no contact for life. They will regret it in about 5 years when you've got a wee little tot running around. They're going to be like, oh, we'd really like to reconcile and smooth things over. Oh, your sister's still living here, by the way. She's had 3 failed marriages to this point because she can't keep herself from texting other people's husbands. Shaking my head at sister here, just shaking my head. Disappointed. Yeah, sister also gets this. Mom and dad have their favorite daughter that can do no wrong. Yeah, it's really funny that she's doing a lot of shit wrong, though, right? They're like, oh, don't tell anybody. Please don't tell anybody. Please don't tell anybody.